Hi there, Laura here from NZPocketGuide.com, and today's episode is from New Zealand's biggest gap year, where a couple of years ago Robin and I did 365 days of 365 activities. This episode is about us canyoning in Queenstown, and we're going to go through some extra travel tips and comments that you guys had during the first time when we published this video, so more travel tips coming up toward the end.
This morning we are being picked up right in front of the Nomad Hostel here in Queenstown by the team from Canyoning New Zealand. They are taking us for an epic canyoning adventure today. For those of you that don't know what canyoning is, it's basically turning nature into your own playground. You find a stream that has created a canyon and you make your way through that canyon all the way to the bottom of it. It's a lot of fun and it usually takes a lot of skills. To make your way down the bottom of the canyon, you use abseiling, you use rope climbing, you jump from waterfall. It's absolutely epic.
We've just been kitted up with some two-piece thick wetsuits, some neoprene layers, socks, booties, helmets, harnesses. I think it's safe to say that we might get a little bit cold today, and we are fully kitted up for that. After a quick safety briefing and a quick practice round on the abseil, we are now making our way to the canyon. It doesn't look like much to start with, we're just sort of making our way through the forest, but the further we go down this stream, the more epic and dramatic the scenery gets. I really don't know what to expect from this tour. This is the first time that I've ever done canyoning, and as we're making our way down this stream, which is getting rockier, the walls of the canyon are getting higher, I am just in anticipation of what is about to happen.
Our guide is called Rob, which may I say it's an absolutely awesome name, and he is super experienced in canyoning. He has been working all over New Zealand and knows most of the streams around like his back pocket. He told us really early on that because this canyon is one of the narrowest that he gets to work in, it's one of his favorites. He tells us that because it's much more technical, it requires much more skills and he really enjoys that. And this is probably why the Kararo Canyon is one of the most popular canyoning tours in the Queenstown area. But before we get to reach the canyon itself, we have to make our way through the very thick native forest around. It's absolutely impressive how just below all the wineries above lies such a massive thick forest. The Kararo Canyon is located in the Gibson Valley area, which is a very famous New Zealand wine region, meaning that there is heaps of fields, yet we are in a massive canyon right below them.
And now the real adventure begins. This is our first major challenge of this canyoning trip, and we are using a natural water slide in the river to make our way down to the next part of the canyon. Rob is attaching us to an abseiling rope and lowering us down the waterfall to start with till we get to a point where he releases the rope and we just fall into the pool below with the waterfall crashing over our heads. As I'm making my way down the waterfall, it's really hard to understand what is happening to me, but it's only when I take a step back and watch the next person coming down the waterfall I can see what craziness I have just done.
It's a chaotic experience jumping in between all those rocks and this massive waterfall in the middle. It creates a lot of noise that reflects on the pan of the cliffs, making it absolutely roaring. We can barely hear each other out, let alone hearing what Rob is telling us, so we kind of wing it around the end. Once the first waterfall has been cleared, we are now making our way toward our next challenge. It's a quick little stroll along the stream until we reach the next section where we have to clip in for our own safety.
We're now really getting into the heart of the canyon. We are surrounded by these towering rock walls covered in moss. It really feels like such a wild environment, and it's so awesome to be able to come to such an isolated place.
As soon as we see Rob dropping his bag and starting to pull the rope out, we know that something epic is about to happen. Don't sleep because we are about to get down another waterfall. This is the two-tier waterfall, and the first section is kind of a slide going on the side, and the next section, well, we kind of have to figure it out ourselves because Rob is not going to be here, we won't be able to hear him anymore, and the rope kind of finishes at some point. But luckily there is a deep pool at the bottom of the waterfall, and this is where I basically land, while Laura is having a lot of fun taking a picture of us in struggle.
Approaching the waterfall is a bit nerve-wracking to start with. We're just looking at this thing, this narrow chute, just thinking, how the hell are we gonna get down there? But once we are making our way down, the feeling of just falling into the water below is really awesome, and all this water is just chaotically falling on our heads. It's super cold, super refreshing, but so epic once we get to the bottom.
What's even more impressive is that it's almost every single time we are passing through a waterfall, Rob is passing last and without any safety. So he knows this canyon so well, it's crazy. Going through those waterfalls gives us also a real feel and sense of how big those waterfalls actually are. From afar, those waterfalls actually look quite small, but when you are in the middle of it, jumping alongside the water, it feels real big. So even the tiniest and smallest waterfall actually feels epic.
The really cool thing about doing these canyoning tours as a group is that we have people to cheer on and other people to cheer us on and really motivate us to get through the obstacles. We are having an absolute blast with our group. We are all helping each other go through the tougher parts of the canyon, but what I really like about this tour as well is that it's kind of like a personal challenge as well. Although all the major risks around us have been taken care of by Rob, we actually have to really think about where we're putting our feet, where we're going to climb. It's really like a mental challenge as well as a physical one.
The rock climbing part was especially challenging since I had to carry a massive backpack including all our cameras, and after jumping in the water so much it got soaking wet and real heavy, making maneuvering myself through the really narrow canyon a real challenge. I do not envy Rob having to carry a massive rope which when wet can weigh over 30 kg. But we're already about to tackle our last waterfall of the day. This is the tallest, this is the biggest, this is the meanest, and I am going in first. I basically take my time because Laura wants to take a lot of pictures, but the force of the water is pushing me down. I'm at the bottom of it in no time. After we all get a go at it, Laura is the last one to make her way down the last waterfall, and this is a gushing one. But she finally makes it through, and that is cause for celebration. The crazy dancing is really keeping us warm in the cold Queenstown weather, and this is why the tour only runs from October to April, because any colder it will be undoable. The last section of our 4-hour tour, which is an initiation to canyoning for people that don't know much about canyoning, is taking us through the rest of the stream very easily. We are just following the path, maybe climbing a couple of ropes, but it's a breeze until we reach the end of the stream and we're gonna make our way back up the mountain. It's kind of the perfect time for everybody to give themselves a good pat on the back. Everybody has a massive grin on their faces as soon as we start heading uphill, because we know that we actually made it through.
We are now making our way back to the start of the canyon on the more dry and quicker way to get back through this area. Here we get some awesome views of the river valleys around us, and we actually realize that it took us over an hour to get through the canyon when it only is actually taking us 10 minutes to walk back.
No, that was really epic, and so far out of the 150 or odds activity we've done, it's in my top 10. It was really challenging. We were not just guided through, you know, like you've seen us in many activities where literally like we've been told for 3 hours where to place each of our feet. This time we had to figure shit out. I was challenging at time, but not undoable. We were safe all the way, but we didn't feel safe, which made it a bit more fun. And yeah.
That is the first time I've done like a proper canyoning sort of tour, so yeah, and it's not too scary. It's like a little bit scary before you start doing something, but then you realize, oh, actually it's like really fun. So yeah.
Nice. So you coming canyoning again with me?
Yeah.
And the guide?
Yeah, and the guide. Yeah. While everyone else is like not in their swimsuits.
Thank you guys, are we doing canyoning or what? I'm ready to go!
Oh, you're really taking this impression all the way, aren't you? Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Now let's move on to some of the comments you had the first time round when we published this video. Alright, first of all we have Janet, who said, I had no idea adventures like this existed. Thanks for taking me along. Oh, you're very welcome, Janet. The cool thing about Queenstown is that there's actually so much to do there that you don't actually realise how many different adventure activities there are to do there. People tend to know about the bungee jumping, the skydiving, the luge, and all that sort of thing. But yeah, canyoning's one of those sort of lesser known activities in Queenstown, but it's definitely worth seeking out because that really does feel like a proper adventure, sort of, you know, harnessing the elements, using your, you know, abilities to get through all the beautiful natural landscape. And that really feels like a raw sort of New Zealand experience. So we really loved it. We have a comment from Krista saying, how did your camera survive this adventure? Is it waterproof? Yes, it definitely, certainly is. I don't think we would have had a camera that would survive through this adventure if it wasn't waterproof. So we've been using a GoPro for filming some of the more, you know, nitty-gritty activities in New Zealand, the ones that have water everywhere, where you're likely to drop your camera and stuff. You definitely need to have an action camera that can survive all that sort of tumbling around. But the good thing about a lot of tours in New Zealand is that they actually have the GoPro equipment sort of on the helmets and things, so you can slide your GoPro in if you have the right accessories. You do need to make sure that you have the right accessories. And yeah, a lot of New Zealand tours are sort of equipped for you to attach your GoPro to various areas of, say, if you're doing whitewater rafting, they might have a attachment at the front of the raft, for instance. So yeah, it's definitely worth, if you are wanting to make videos and stuff, it's definitely worth taking a GoPro so it survives through the whole ordeal. Alright, I hope you found that video interesting and useful. Another place to find useful information is at nzpocketguide.com. It has thousands of articles to help you plan your trip around New Zealand and even around Queenstown with all the amazing activities there are to do. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next episode.